Hi, folks. I'm Jamie Hiles.
I'm Lydia Judy.
And I'm the prankster, Derek Lemaster.
It's Scream Bloody Movies, the podcast where we review a horror movie each week, go through the horror news, and Derek is the original prankster. Look down on it, original prankster.
Hope you're real proud of yourself, Derek.
Yeah.
I am, Lydia. It's not every day I get to do something like that.
You about gave me a heart attack.
Derek gave us a good prank. This episode is being recorded. Sorry to shatter the illusion, but this episode is being recorded on April 2nd. So, Derek, you want to tell our viewers what you did today?
Oh, yeah, this was a genius move. My wife laughed at me of how corny it was, but I was like, I sent a text message to the group, and I was like, "Hey guys, I'm not going to be on the podcast tonight." And I left it for a minute, and Lydia was the first one who took the bait. And she was like, "What, is everything okay?" Which is a testament to how nice of a person she is. She's very caring, asking if everything was okay. And I was like, April 2s.
Yeah. And my reaction, I'm still over here having a heart attack. And I was like, what is April 2s? I'm like, Jake, I'm like, what does April 2s mean? I don't know what that means. And he's like, I think you just got pranked.
Yes.
Damn it.
I came in on the back end of all of it because I was finishing up this week's movie. So I had my phone off because that's what I do when I watch films. And it was sitting off to the side. And I checked it and I was like, man, why do I have like 8 text messages? And it just was all of that. And I'm like, Derek's not going to be on tonight? April 2s, Dwight Schrute. So anyway, that's our little prank story. Guys, we've got a great show for you tonight. We're going to talk about what is quite possibly the most late 90s movie that has ever been made in Robert Rodriguez's The Faculty. But before we get to that, I want to jump into some horror news. So, not a lot going on in the horror world today, but I got some stuff. I found some stuff. Let's start with this one. Robert Kirkman is producing, The Walking Dead's creator, Robert Kirkman, is producing a remake of the 1956 horror film, The Mole People.
Oh.
It's going to be directed by Virgil Vogel from a screenplay by Laszlo Goreg. That was the original one, is directed by those people. So, have you guys, either of you, seen The Mole People?
I am almost positive I've seen it at some point. Yeah.
It's terrifying monsters from a lost age. Those 50s posters were fucking gorgeous, weren't they? Look at that.
Oh, man, they're my favorite.
For sure. But I don't know how to feel about this, man.
Yeah, it's definitely a B movie science, science fiction story. The new concept will follow a woman who travels to a town veiled in a conspiracy to rescue her grandchildren from their father. To do this, she must fight through hell in the underground tunnels where the mole people reside.
I love it.
That sounds pretty legit because you can make that scary and modern.
I mean, it sounds like The Mist a little bit, you know?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, except with mole people. I thought it was I thought this movie was going to be about people with dermatology issues.
Real nice.
They just walk around with moles. There's another one. That's it. That's what the whole movie is.
Nice.
All right, moving along. Guys, Scream 6 has surpassed last year's Scream at the box office.
Wow.
So far, Scream 6 has earned $139 million at the global box office, off of a $24 million budget. So the Screams still rake in the dough.
Yeah.
They don't play around.
Gosh, what do they do with all that money?
Put it into Scream 7, which is around the corner. So we are getting Scream 7. Now, Who knows if hopefully Nev is back. Yeah. But
Yep.
here's an interesting little tidbit about the new Scream 6 has made almost $140 million. But the breakdown of Scream 1 still made the most money out of all three movies, or out of all the movies. It goes Scream 1, 2, and 3. Scream 1 in 1996 made $173 million.
That's insane.
In 1996.
I remember when that movie came out, man. It was very talked about. It was huge. It was huge. I remember we rented it on VHS and watched it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So all of those are
so you couldn't get the spoilers back then.
Yeah. So Scream 2 only made $1 million less. The very next year in 1997, it made $172 million. Scream 3 made $161 million. Scream 6, $139 million. Scream 2022, $138, and Scream 4, $95 million. So none of them have not been massive box office successes.
Profitable. Yeah.
All of them are hits, are huge hits, actually. That's good for the,
Is the title owned by the Craven family?
No. Kevin Williams, that Wes Craven made that, as a job. He took that job. Miramax owns the rights to Scream. I think Spyglass actually owns it now. But there's some rights between Miramax, Spyglass. I think all of Miramax was bought out due to the Weinstein, pieces of shit. So yeah, that's just I don't know how much even Kevin Williamson has any say in the Scream movies. He's executive producer. I know that, but I think they make those movies because they have the rights to them.
It's the right to print money.
Yeah, it is at this point, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we got a new movie coming out. It looks like it's definitely a low budget horror movie from Uncorked Entertainment, an action horror movie called The Curse of Wolf Mountain, starring Danny Trejo and Tobin Bell.
Okay.
The Curse of the Werewolf, or The Curse of the Wolf Mountain. I don't know why I just have werewolves on the brain. Centers on a guy named AJ who begins having vivid dreams of his parents' death. He decides to go back to the spot where they were killed 20 years ago, accompanied by his brother and his brother's family. But legend has it that there is something mysterious roaming these woods. So it's a movie with Danny Trejo and Tobin Bell's in it. What do you guys think?
Yep. Sounds like it's gonna go to sci-fi maybe or something.
Yeah.
When you so earlier in the week, Jamie had sent Lydia and I a text message of Tobin Bell, and it was like, if you want to de-age somebody, how did your message go? Because it was great.
So it was, they said studios spend millions of dollars to de-age actors, and I appreciate the way Saw 6 just put Tobin Bell in a backwards baseball cap to show that he's younger.
We'll put it up right here so that everyone can understand what we're saying. But it was classic. It was good. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm glad that they're getting work. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be on our radar necessarily. Maybe in season 20, we'll hit that one up.
Hey, it is a werewolf movie. I mean,
we don't know. It doesn't say. It just called a wolf.
You can't name a place Wolf Mountain and make a horror movie and it not be about werewolves.
Right.
What if it's about regular wolves?
You're gonna piss off a lot of people, like the Gray.
Yeah, Derek went in there thinking Liam Neeson was gonna fight werewolves.
Oh my gosh! You know what my mom asked me today?
What?
She was like, "Have you guys done Dog Soldiers yet?"
Dog Soldiers is great. We do have to do it at some point.
I was like,
never heard of that one.
We'll do it sometime, Derek. You'll dig it.
Not a lot of people have heard of it, I don't think.
Yeah, it's a cult classic for sure.
I'm glad Jamie's heard of it because I haven't met a single other person that's heard of it.
Oh yeah. they're remaking 1986, a 1986 horror movie, Witchboard, and it's going to star Jamie Campbell Bower, who played Vecna in season 4 of Stranger Things.
Oh, okay.
And it's going to be directed by, I guess we don't have a cast yet, but the original was made by Chuck Russell.
Dude,
Oh no, Chuck Russell
watching that.
is Chuck Russell is making the new one. Writer director Kevin S. Tinney made Witchboard. Do you remember Witchboard, Derek?
Yeah, dude, I remember like being 10 years old and renting that.
Yeah.
Yeah, at like
It's
Video
like
Stop.
it's like a Ouija board style movie, isn't it, Derek?
Yeah.
So what do you think of this being remade, Derek?
It depends on what their expectations are. I mean, if it's a fun movie that they put on a streaming platform, I think I'll watch it just for nostalgic sake, but we'll see.
Chuck Russell's directing it, and he made one of our all-time favorite horror movies, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors. And he also made The Mask. So, give it a shot.
Yeah.
Give it the old college try. And then finally, this is the last bit of horror news. It's been a slow week in horror news. But Crystal Lake showrunner Brian Fuller has met with Tom Savini. So, hopefully we're going to get some Savini effects in the new Camp Crystal Lake movie.
I love how
Or
that
show.
was your thing. You're just like, and period.
Period. That's all I need to say. He had a meeting with Tom Savini.
Yes.
Exclamation point.
Love to hear it. Yeah.
Love to see it. Love to see it. What do you think, Derek?
Can't wait. I'm pretty stoked about this.
We're all cautiously optimistic about this show. I don't know how you can't be, right?
I mean, worst case scenario, they make a dud and you just don't ever talk about it. You're like, oh,
Yeah,
no.
and then you're like, well, look at all these beautiful Friday the 13th movies we still have, and
Yeah.
hopefully they make more.
Someone
Yeah.
brings it up at a party and be like, yep, I didn't catch that one.
Yeah. Or
Watched
it's a dud and everybody talks about it.
Yeah, and then we have to, it would have to be really bad to like hurt Jason's brand because he was
He's been
he wasn't
been
Jason Goes to
properly hurt.
Hell. He wasn't. He did go to hell, and we'll talk about that movie someday. But we have to go away for that.
Just know it cannot get any worse than Rob Zombie's The Munsters.
That's true. That's true. It
That's like the
cannot.
bottom of the barrel. There's
It's
only
pretty-
up from there.
It is not high on our rankings. It's low on the pumpkin list. I will say that,
It's low on everybody's list.
except for maybe Rob and the cast. They
Yeah,
probably enjoyed it.
some people like that movie.
Do they?
Yeah.
If you like that movie, go ahead and just cuss us out in the comments, and we'll just get it over with.
Yeah,
'cause
look,
it
and
hasn't
I'm
happened
not
yet.
judging you. I'm not judging you if you like it. It just
Mhm.
wasn't for us.
Yeah,
If you
it's
like
just
that
bad.
movie, I question whether you actually watched it or not.
Yeah, if you like
Listen,
it, we just keep going and going. If you
all-
like it,
all I'm gonna say is it's gonna be a no for me, dog. It's
yeah,
gonna be a no for me.
yeah.
So, guys,
Yeah.
picture it. It's the winter of 1998. Scream and Scream 2 have came out and were massive hits, right? So, old Harvey Weinstein, good old Harvey Rape Boy, decides to get his grubby little fingers on a script that was floating around since the early 90s. So Harvey grabs this script, sends it to the writer of Scream, Kevin Williamson. Says, do a page 1 rewrite of this. Keep the story, but page 1 rewrite. So Kevin Smith rewrites the movie. He makes brand new characters. He makes it hip. He makes it 90s as fuck. And then they go to hire one of the most up-and-coming directors at the time, Robert Rodriguez, as his first studio film. Guys, they were seeing dollar signs. Ching, ching, ching. Money in the bank, right? $15 million they spent on this thing. It was ready to go, and it brought in $63 million at the box office.
Oh,
Did it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's 4 times the.
It's
amount.
a hit, right? Except it's not Scream level hit,
yeah.
which is what they were wanting.
Yep.
But unbeknownst to all of that, in 1998, there's a 12-year-old Jamie who saw the trailer for The Faculty and was in.
Was in.
So, guys, let's talk about this strange movie, Robert Rodriguez's The Faculty. Derek, you picked this, so you get the honors. This is not your first time watching this, yeah?
Nope. Although I will say, if you do follow the channel, last week I had hummed or made reference to what I thought was the theme song. That was actually a theme song of a different movie. So, I did pick this thinking it was something else, but that's okay. I actually knew that I knew this movie. I just misplaced the main theme song that they had. Yeah. Which is totally fine because this was the movie I wanted to watch. But it's not my first time. In 1998, I was a freshman in high school. So.
Old.
What?
So, did you see this in 1998?
Or
did
right
you see
about
it
there.
the following year when it came out on VHS?
It probably would have been the following year because this was the winter of 1998. So into 1999. It's probably 1999 when I saw it.
Yeah. So you rented this on VHS?
Yeah.
Do you remember watching it or no? Just that you watched it?
I remember, just that I watched it a couple times. I've seen this movie a couple of times throughout the years. I can't tell you the last time I saw it. So some of the cast took me by surprise.
Oh, yeah. Lydia, is this your first time watching this movie?
No, it is not.
Okay.
I've seen this before. I probably also saw it when I was like a freshman. Probably saw it on TV. I was racking my brain trying to figure out like the actual first time I watched it. And I think I remember, and maybe it was my mom that had it on TV. And I even messaged her today and was like, hey, we're doing The Faculty. Like, do you remember that one at all? And she was like, the one with Josh Hartnett? Like, yes. So she definitely remembered it. She was like, yeah, that one's pretty good. But
Lydia, how old is your mom?
I don't know if she'd want me to say on.
I mean, we can bleep it out. I'm curious how close she is to me in age.
She was born in 1969.
She's way older than us.
Okay.
She's way older than you guys.
Whatever, I'm 40, so.
Lydia is not 18, Derek.
Yeah. I'm 30, so.
She's 30.
All right, I mean, 10 years younger. I mean, if your mom was 8 years older than me, that'd make her 18.
I
Whatever.
guess.
Yeah. She's in her early 50s.
I'm glad
She didn't look it, but she acts like she's in her 80s. Oh, no, bleep that out.
Oh.
Wow.
That's all right.
Shots fired.
My wife is 35, and I bought her a purse for Christmas, and I just picked out the one that I just knew the old lady would pick out. And I told her that I was like, I picked the most old lady purse for you.
Nice.
So she's an old lady at heart.
So I'll take you back to my story.
Okay.
I saw the trailers for The Faculty and I was in. I didn't go see it in the theater. It wasn't one of those. But as soon as it came out on VHS, I watched it. I remember the first time I watched this movie, like the first time, because I was a big fan of the actors. Like I liked Elijah Wood. I liked Josh Hartnett. But guys, I was a big fan of Jon Stewart in The Daily Show.
Oh my gosh.
So I saw stuff on it about like Jon Stewart being in it, and I was like, oh, I wonder how big his part is. It's not very big, but he's in it. And so I remember renting it on VHS, watching it at my dad's house downstairs, and liking it. I think I watched it like 2 or 3 times that weekend that I rented it. And I thought it was pretty good. And then I didn't see it for 20 years. And then about two months ago or so, maybe longer than that, but sometime within the last year, I watched it. I was going through, it's on HBO Max. I was going through, saw it. I was like, oh shit, man, I haven't seen this in forever. So I watched it. So it was pretty fresh in my mind when Derek picked it, but there's still some stuff that I forgot or I paid attention to more this time. The last time I was kind of watching it and on my phone, it was like, it was just late night kind of thing. But so I paid attention this time. But yeah, this is one that it's probably my fifth watch, sixth, somewhere around there. It's not like I've watched it like a dozen times or anything.
Yeah.
But it's fun. So let's get into it.
So real quick, because you said this already, this is the most late 90s teen movie you could make. Let's go through the cast here. So there's and I'm gonna botch some of these names because I'm absolutely terrible with names, but Jordana Brewster.
Before you start, like the names are all the craziest names.
Oh yeah, well we'll get to the character names too. Yeah. The characters' names are hilarious.
The actors' names
are
insane.
Jordana Brewster. Yep.
I mean, she's been in a couple movies, but
she's in a little series called Fast and the Furious, Derek.
I didn't mean her. I was
movies.
Yeah, I had moved on to movies. She is from the Fast and the Furious.
Yeah.
Movies. But Clea Duvall. Let's see, Josh Hartnett. Everybody knows him from like all the 90s stuff.
Yeah.
From
the 90s.
Selma Hayek was in this movie. Yep. I completely forgot about her. By the way, she's the reason why people have crushes on school nurses. This one's a really hard one. So this is who is it? Jean Grey from the X-Men movies.
Emke Jansen. Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce her first name.
Emke?
Yeah.
Emke?
Femke. Yeah.
Femke.
Let's see. Yeah. Christopher McDonald. Shooter McGavin. That's right. And then Robert Patrick.
The T-1000, baby.
T-1000. Usher, dude. Usher was in this movie.
Usher.
Right?
Jon Stewart. Classic. Elijah Wood.
Of course.
Amazing.
John Abrahams has been in a couple movies. I've seen, remember him? Danny, no, this one goes back to the Weinstein comment. So Danny Masterson.
Danny Masterson, yep.
Let's see, anybody else that jumps out here? Those are the big ones. Anybody I miss?
No, I think those are the big stars of the time.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
It is.
This was a stacked cast, and they all thought they were going to be swimming in that screen money. I'm telling you.
I wonder if they took like percentages.
Well, maybe that's why they got such a big cast. They're like this. Jordana Brewster tells a story about this because she was in 2 films around, this time. A couple years later, she was in the first Fast and the Furious, right? And when this came out, she was telling everybody this is going to be a huge hit. This is like the biggest movie I've ever. This movie is going to be massive, and it flopped. And then Fast and the Furious, she was like, "Oh, I'm in this little car movie. It's a little kind of car movie," and it turned into Fast and the Furious. So she's not the judging if they're going to be hits or not, apparently. But yes, this the most 90s, and not only that, guys, but the Scream connection is not only with the poster where you have all the actors' faces on the cover. It's not only the fact that they got Kevin Williamson to write it, but the music is done by Marco Beltrami, and there's 100% some Scream score in this. Did you guys hear it? Like it was.
Oh, dude, the I don't know specifically which one you're talking about, but I started listening to the soundtrack, the motion picture soundtrack, because they had some kick-ass music in this movie.
Those are the music, but I'm talking about the actual film score. The film score is Marco Beltrami, who did Scream. And there's those little boom, like the Scream kind of.
I gotcha.
Yeah, they hit in quite a few scenes. So yeah, this movie is they tried that screen formula for sure, and it is definitely 90s. So, where do you want to start with this one?
I mean, the beginning's always a good place.
I knew you were going to say it. I knew
I
it.
don't know where else to. I mean, we could jump around.
Jump around.
I know. I was trying to figure out a way to incorporate that, but I'm not gifted in that way. So
Yeah. So I mean, the beginning of this movie is kind of weird. Like, I don't know if it even works. The actual beginning. What do you think?
What's the beginning? Is it where they're like kind of introducing the characters?
No, it's this scene of the coach yelling at everybody.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You're muted, by the way, Derek, if you're trying to talk to us.
I'm gonna fix this phlegm if it's the last thing I do. Anyway, I get what you're saying. I think that the only reason that they did it was to show how unhinged the coach is, because then the next time that we see the coach, he's like cool because he's part of the collective at this point. I don't know. You're right. It's kind of a weird opening for sure.
Yeah, no, I get why they did it. It's just that the execution is really weird and kind of wonky. Because we have him yelling, all that stuff's fine, but then he just is like kind of bent down and he turns and he's like, "Oh,
what
you?" And it just does this like kind of weird fade instead of like a cut or something. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I agree with you. I know where you're coming from.
But then we get a cool chase scene. What do you guys think of this chase scene with the principal?
The chase scene with the principal.
Yeah, at the very beginning, she's in there with the coach. She's the coach. The principal tells everybody, "Hey, you guys aren't getting your budgets."
Okay, yeah.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, everybody leaves, and she's there stuck with the coach.
By the way,
yeah, what a sad scene, though, huh?
But it's so indicative of like the way that and I'm making an assumption here. I'm sure that these meetings go right, so they're cutting the budget for like the school plays. The drama teacher wants to do something, and they're like, "We don't have the budget. You need to reuse some stuff, and you're not getting your new computers to the librarian and all this stuff." But apparently, the football team is the big draw. And so they're getting new uniforms and things like that. So yeah, I mean, it seems like it would be legit. And I actually had another point to this, and now I forget what it is. So Lydia, feel free.
Oh, yeah, it's sad to see like the teachers who want to do things with the students and they can't. So, and then it kind of leads you into like the principal is just kind of bitter and like knows that there's nothing she can do about it because all this town cares about is the football team. So she goes in and the football coach shows up behind her and is like weirdly.
Yeah, really, really weird.
So at first, she kind of feels like she's playing along, like there might be some undertone, like sexual tension between these two. But then she does get to a point where she shuts it down, and she's like, "Okay."
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure she just was humoring him because she thought he was drunk. I bet you he has like a history of tying one on every once in a while.
Yeah, that's what
I don't know,
didn't
man.
feel like chemistry there.
She had a smile on her face, like she thought it was flirting.
She was probably uncomfortable.
That's
what I do when I am uncomfortable.
I'm really am confused about what you like, how you interpret signals now. Now I'm kind of concerned.
All right, you know what? If I could, I would play the clip right here. But it does seem like she is like kind of, okay, maybe even flattered that he's like coming on to her. But then there's a point where she's like, okay, I gotta go. And then that's when
she tells him to sleep. You need to go home and sleep it off.
Yeah,
she says.
She does say that. He's like, "Oh, you look very pretty tonight." She seems flattered anyway.
And then she stabs a pencil. He stabs a pencil right through her hand.
That's what I do to my principals.
Dude, that's a couple movies in several weeks that we have a pencil through the hand. 2 weeks ago we did Fright Night, pencil through the hand.
Oh,
We do this one, pencil through the hand.
Yes.
You're John Wick. You kill people in bars with pencils. So
Yeah. It's just.
Pencils are dangerous.
What do you guys? That was a pretty good gag. The pencil gag looks pretty good.
Yeah, no, it freaked me out because I honestly that's the last thing you kind of expect. Although he is being kind of weird about the pencils. He's like, "Hey, do you have a pencil I can use?"
I mean, I just thought he was.
Window.
I thought he was quoting David Lee Roth, from Hot for Teacher. You got a pencil? Need to write something down. Side tangent. David Lee Roth, if you haven't listened to his isolated vocals on some of those early Van Halen records, do yourself a favor and just do it, because there's just a lot of random like, what? What? Yeah.
Nice.
It's hilarious.
That's gotta be fun.
Great during the in the song, but when you pull those out, you're just like, what the fuck?
It's like,
great.
This is madness.
Madness. He's having like a conniption over here.
So
yeah, I think
these effects are guys. What are some of our favorites?
The effects.
The
CG
effects?
the CG effect. We'll talk about. They are not good. The CG effects are, I mean, we have to grade it on a curve for being 1998, but even in 1998, I don't think these look very good.
Yeah, I was mostly talking about the practical effects.
Oh, the practical effects are good.
Like the pencil and the eyeball and like all these good things that we got,
Oh yeah, the practical effects are great. Yeah, we'll talk about them as we get to them. But yeah, I think the practical effects, and I think that the physical puppet at the end when the alien queen, I think that physical puppet is excellent. Spoilers. I think the CG for it is terrible.
For sure. Like when they find the little specimen and they put it in the tank.
Yeah.
I thought that didn't look bad.
It does.
Some of it didn't look that bad. You're right. But then there was some of it was just like whenever it she put her hand up to the glass and it like mimicked her hand. That wasn't great, but
whenever it interacts with actual people, it never looks great. Yeah. So, what do you guys think of this introduction scene where we're introduced to all of our characters?
All of our faculty?
No, our students. We're introduced to the students.
This is weird. I don't know. You guys might have to explain this to me because this is a strange way to introduce all your characters. It's like
a cool dude. It was such a 90s thing. It was a 90s thing. It was fun and cool, because you just flash, freeze frame, character's name. It was like a trope, wasn't it, Derek?
It was like a trope. I will also say that I felt like they tried to misdirect some of like the stigmas that you have attached to certain types of characters. Like Stokely, she turns out to be like the fiction nerd, if you will. Yeah. We'll get into. You would have expected that to be Elijah Wood's character, but
we'll get into their characterizations. But what do you think of their actual introductions? Like this introduction, these freeze frames with their names, Casey gets.
Oh yeah, I kind of
hit,
forgot that.
And it's like Casey.
Yeah, I like it.
It's can't hardly wait.
Yes, it's a 90s thing. It's a 90s trope. It was a 90s trope.
That's so
strange. 100%. Yeah, it's such a strange. It's a relic of the time. We're gonna bring it back. Next movie, I'm gonna have like the killer pop up, and it's gonna say killer.
Killer.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I do like this whole scene though that they kind of just do it all.
It's cool. It's
and
kind of like
the other characters too that they don't even introduce, like the couple who was like hitting each other.
It's actually a really nice scene as far as setting kind of everybody up, and we kind of meet them all in one scene and kind of build certain dynamics.
And it's just like high school, like it's just how some high school. I mean, this is a little exaggerated, I think, but
it's very exaggerated. They're just kind of fucking walking around in the middle of of class
and, like,
period.
There are people like making out, and it's like I just feel like that's
dealing on the steps.
Pretty exaggerated.
Like that never happened to my. We'd walk in and people were just sitting in the fucking gym until class started. or
Yeah, yeah,
something.
exactly.
But
I don't remember high school. It's so long ago.
Like
It is true.
imagine like if that was applied to your life of like where your name would pop up in your high school of your character. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, in
where
high
would
school?
I fit in this montage of characters?
That's interesting, Lydia. That is interesting to see where you.
Derek would pop up on a wrestling mat, right, Derek?
I don't know, man. I would like to think that I was a terrible term, a tweener. I wasn't like super popular, but I also wasn't at the like lower part of the class as far as
Wasn't on those peasants.
So do you mean like in betweener? Like you're kind of
yeah.
in between?
I was in between. Like I had friends of really all spectrums. I had jock
Yeah,
friends.
so did I.
And I think for most people they have that. I mean, in these movies, it's always a super dramatic
Flicks.
drop from.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and Delilah. I can't wait to get into like the character bios because she's something else. But
Yeah.
but yeah, you know, I would have been a tweener.
Yeah, I would be. I mean,
relate to that.
me too. I had friends all over the spectrum, you know, but I would have like done like a bit on stage and it would have froze because I used to do the plays. So I'd like do like a bit and then it would say Jamie.
Yeah. I think a lot of people from my school would probably have just put me as Stokely though. Like I was very much like dark clothes, like trying to hide my way through high school. So yeah, whatever people thought about me, I don't really know. But I did have like friends. I mean, we went to such a small school.
Yeah.
Like I went to a very small school. We had not many people. So well, I had like 90 people in my, probably less than 90 people in my graduating class.
Yeah, we had only 100 and some, like 280.
I only had like 130, I think, in my
I had like
class.
maybe 180. So we're introduced to the characters each doing like one of their things that kind of sets up their trope. And then they kind of turn it a little bit, like you were saying, Derek, on their head a little bit.
Yeah.
So we were introduced to Casey, played by Elijah Wood, and he's like nerdy, like everybody thinks he's a nerd, and he's a photographer for the school paper. But he's actually really athletic and smart. Like he can run really fast. And then we're introduced to like, Stokely, who helps Casey up, and she's like the goth girl. And so we think, and she's like labeled a lesbian. And then we're introduced to Delilah, Jordana Brewster, who is the head cheerleader and the school paper editor-in-chief. Her boyfriend, on again, off again boyfriend, Stan, is a jock, the star of the football team.
Yep.
But he actually is wanting to quit the football team because he's wanting to work on his academia because he wants to make it on his own merits. And then we're introduced to Zeke, who is Josh Hartnett, and motherfucker still never brushed his hair.
Oh,
He
that
just
hair!
decided never to do it.
Hair.
He's like the anti-comb character in every movie.
Combs are his enemy. Oh!
Well, he must be doing it on purpose.
He
that
was.
Back of the hair flippy motion. Everything else looks pretty
Maybe
normal.
it's a cowlick, and he's just like,
It's
I can't do
just
anything with it, guys.
He was shooting this in Halloween H2O around the same time.
Okay, so
And he had the haircut for this one, I think. And when they were shooting Halloween H2O, he would purposely put on a sock cap and mess up his hair, and it would dry. That's why there's the joke in Halloween H2O where LL Cool J tells him to brush his hair. It's because of that. But Zeke is this super, super smart kid who is a burnout. So he's introduced to us as like a drug dealer, kind of, sells shit out of the back of his trunk, kind of slacker.
Mm-hmm.
But he's actually really, really smart. What do you guys think of our casting? Oh, and we can't forget Mary Beth, who is the new girl in town.
Yep. Southern
Um,
accent.
Yep, Southern accent, sweet to Stokely and pretty much everybody. What do you guys think of our cast of characters here?
Yeah, get a little bit of everybody, you know.
Yeah, you set them up. Yeah.
They seem I don't know, do you think they seem realistic?
No, it's a movie. They
I mean,
definitely fit movie archetypes.
Like I feel like Elijah Wood and like Mary Beth are pretty real. Like,
Well, yeah,
there's
Elijah
no
Wood-
like stretching.
Zeke is like the most unrealistic character that's ever existed.
For sure.
But
I don't
he's
know.
fun.
He kind of
He's
reminds
cool.
me of Jake a little bit, though.
Jake
Just-
wasn't making drugs and putting them into pins and selling them out of the back of his trunk.
But he could have.
That's too much. That's just too much.
Like,
I'm like,
I think the
He's-
real. Go ahead, Lydia. Sorry.
Jake was like really smart and did not apply himself, and I feel like that's like the kind of like
that part, yes, but the rest of it, no. Having a
Yeah.
chemistry lab and your
yeah chemistry lab,
House.
and like being able to like dissect things and whatever, you know, like very
Yeah.
scientific. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
The lab scene later is just like too much.
Yeah.
hilarious. Yeah.
But yeah, and that he is the most extreme of the characters because everybody knows the people in high school who sold drugs were not like hidden geniuses.
No.
typically, they had troubled lives and all the stuff that goes along with that, and they're not bad people, maybe bad situations.
Also,
but yeah,
Isn't it kind of implied that Zeke is from a rich family? Like when
slightly,
Famke,
Yeah.
when Famke Janssen's character is after she's turned and she's like kind of ripping on him, she's like,
Uh-huh.
"Where's your mother this week hiding from you?" And like all these nice places and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess it's that he's well to do.
Well, and there's that whenever they do go back to the lab, someone's like, "Where's your parents?" And he's like, "I don't know, Europe."
Yeah.
So yeah,
And he's driving around like a nice sports car.
so maybe he's the rebellious one because he's neglected at home,
Yeah.
and he just decides that I'm going to do everything anti-establishment.
Yep. So you got to get that drug. What do they call the drug again?
Enough.
Ah.
Yeah, I don't know, something like
Dust,
that.
magic dust.
No, it has a name. It's
Methamphetamine.
yeah. No, it's not. God, I can't remember what the name of it is. But yeah. So anyway, that's our setup, and then we just start knocking shit down. So we see that the at the end of the cold open, the principal is murdered by one of the other teachers. So we see that the teachers are starting to get assimilated, and the weird shit starts to happen, like kind of early. Like they're starting to notice that things are weird between everybody. We get kind of their interpersonal stuff. We get that Stan's like, "Hey, I'm quitting football." He tells Delilah, "I'm quitting football. I want to do this." She's like, "Well, there's a hierarchy
Oh my
here."
god! Yeah.
And that made me laugh so hard. She's like, "This is the way it works." And I was like, "No, it's not."
Yeah. That is so gross and toxic and weird and like unacceptable.
Yeah.
Like the
And
things
not
that she
realistic, really.
says. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
realistic. Of like,
But it's
yeah,
hilarious. It's perfect.
yeah.
I don't know. I didn't go to school with this person. I worked with this person, and then she was still in school, but like high school. I mean, I was in college. We worked at a mutual
Hey,
place.
starting to scare us with these stories.
Yeah, but anyway, I was. She was all like about that, like kind of in a Delilah sense. Man, she was not a
Toxic?
nice person. She was totally toxic.
Yeah, I mean, I think there
I
are
called her out
people
one
like
day.
that, but she made it seem like this is the way the high
This
school
is the way.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
I-
what the fuck are you, the Mandalorian? This is the way.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
only the way for you because you're like prioritizing it.
Yeah, because you're terrible. And so, we get some scenes of like I said, them all kind of interacting and stuff. And Casey goes out there's this shot Casey's sitting on the bench, and we're like far away from him, kind of like pushing on him. It's so like Dawson's Creek.
Right.
And he ends up finding this shell, like this little creature thing. He doesn't know what it is. It's dried out. So he takes it to the science teacher, which is John Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
And they're starting to kind of mess with it. He's like, oh, I think this is a new species. And Hartnett, of course, comes over there and he's like, let me check it out. I'm a genius.
Yeah, no kidding.
I just can't
He's
brush
like
my hair.
correcting the teacher or something, you know, like
Yeah.
on
Well,
these big words that
Yeah, he
mean
said something.
whatever.
I
I don't even know what the word was.
Yeah, I forget what
Yeah.
it is too.
And
it
I'm
was like,
usually
it
pretty
means
good at
it's-
that.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. So Stokely ends up spilling water because she shoulder bumps Usher. Let me say that again. She shoulder bumps Usher. And knocks over water, and it like kind of like regenerates it. So they put it in a fish tank, and we get that CG scene that we were talking about. What do you guys think of this fish tank bit?
Well, I was less concerned about the fish tank than I was, or I mean the creature, the CG, as I was about the empty fish tank that he just had ready for it.
Why is that there?
So I just want to like take a step back and think about this in a realistic sense. So you're a creature from outer space and you land on a planet that is 70% water, and you're concerned with the 30% of land that has people on it. Why would you just not inhabit the ocean?
That's a good point, Derek. I didn't even think about that.
Well,
curious.
you
That's a
know,
good point.
because then because they're sitting it, you see, and they want to take over our.
We're like the
sentient
fish are
being.
beneath us, but these human people.
Yes, that's why. That's part of the reason. The other part of the reason is if they just did the other thing, we wouldn't have a movie.
That is also true. I'm just like logically, I'm like, it doesn't really make sense. Although, go ahead.
Because we wouldn't give a fuck about the fish aliens. We'd be like, James Cameron might fucking find him one day. When he's deep diving like he does. But
Yeah, no kidding.
that's normal folk.
I didn't even think about that. That's a big plot hole, Derek. Good call.
Thank you.
Just go to the dang ocean.
I mean, there's even one, like there's one of the Saturn's moons that's like an entire body of water. But anyway, either way, I do think that the logical explanation that they give to why they landed in this small town is actually pretty plausible.
Yeah.
Right? Show up at the White House door or just attack within, because like there's a scene where the one teacher, what is he, the history teacher?
Yeah.
At first he's like pouring
he's a
some of
sad
grandpa's
sack.
cough syrup into his coffee. And then he's like drinking a bottle of water, and he's like asking for everybody that they know, all their family members and where they live and their addresses. And you're just like, it's a little weird. Is this going to be on the test? This is the test.
Exactly. So my biggest problem with the scene with the when they put the alien in the fish tank is he just sticks his fucking hand in there.
Yeah, he does.
Are you out of your goddamn mind? I'm not putting my hand in there.
No.
Especially when it grows
For
tentacles
sure.
and shit. I'm like, nah.
I'm like, that's a jellyfish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm straight.
Right. You just saw this thing that was literally in a cocoon like a hibernative state. And it came to life and now it's swimming around and it grew these giant tentacles. And this was before it like spontaneously replicated itself.
Yeah. Which again, then you're like,
yeah, at that point,
hand
you
in
drain the tank and you kill this thing.
He's like, I just want to feel it.
Yeah. Crazy shit. Anyway.
So then we get this scene. Let's talk about the scene in the shower. Let's talk about that scene. What do you guys think of this bit?
Stuff of nightmares, man. Of nightmares.
Does this one get you, Derek?
This one is interesting.
Go ahead, talk about it.
Okay, well, so like they were just out of gym class, I think, right?
Yeah.
And so the ex-jock, because he wants to work on his academics, is taking a shower, and in walks this old brittle teacher who's asking him for help or something like that, and she like falls into him. She's like naked. Thank goodness it doesn't show anything. But then like he accidentally like grabs her hair and like rips a chunk of her hair out.
Yeah, it's very Phantasm too. Yeah.
It was very Phantasm too. And then, you know, scarred that poor kid for life. He's going to go to therapy.
What'd you think of that scene, Lydia?
Well, I thought his reaction was really good.
I agree. Yeah, it's he's very sympathetic towards her.
He wants to help her. Like, he doesn't know what's going on, and he is concerned, and he's not like, oh, an old lady that's naked. Like, he's like,
Yeah.
Go get help. Like, this woman needs help.
And then he holds her. He hugs her even.
Yeah, he hugs her. Like, how that was so tender and sweet.
Yeah, and he's
amazed.
like just trying to like move her hair, and that's when he rips it out. But I was surprised too, because I was like, Stan's a good guy, you know?
Yeah.
Well, now I feel terrible. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you're terrible.
Derek would have
like,
fucking straight up and kicked her in the chest.
I've been like, Grandma, not again. Get off me.
Well, what happens is Derek just sees her and he's like, she's gonna shit on me. She's gonna shit on me.
Yeah, no kidding.
The pants are down. It's happening.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe you just brought that up.
That's why you're afraid of old ladies.
That's bad. That is bad.
Anyway, sorry about that.
No, but that's understandable to be afraid, especially when you're like, this is a horror movie, so you should be afraid of the naked old lady. But it was surprising that his reaction was not
it's a good choice, I think.
Yeah.
And then the following scene has one of the worst shots in the movie, in my opinion. Because I think the movie's well shot and well made, but there's a bit where right after that, where they're talking about she's like, well, she has cancer and she's going through all of this stuff, and she's talking to him, and Casey is looking out the window and he sees the coach just standing in the sprinkler.
Yeah.
And which is cool. It's a good image. That's fine. But then she's like, Casey, you hear me, Casey? And then he looks at her and the camera just goes, do for no reason onto her. And I was like, what the like, I guess, is that supposed to be like an extra scare or something?
No, she realizes he's suspicious.
But if they don't play that would be more of a like kind of subtle push in.
I agree with you.
It was like, maybe it's him like realizing.
Well,
I don't know.
He thinks that the coach is acting kind of odd.
Well, the coach is acting odd, but the push in on her was because it was 1998.
I mean, that's also fair.
That's why. But it just cracked me up. I was like, that's funny. That's some good shit there.
Nice.
What was the jock's name? The former
Stan.
jock, Stan.
Yeah.
So he was also taken, I think, a little aback whenever he approached the coach and was like, "Hey, coach, I'm going to quit the football team," because we already saw an outburst from this coach where he's flipping tables.
Which, by the way, was way over the top.
He's
mad because he fucks up in practice. That's what practice is for, so you can fuck up.
That's some Bobby Knight shit right there.
Yeah. He flips over the Gatorade table. After they leave, he goes, I was like, what the fuck, bro?
High expectations on him, I guess.
Yeah,
but,
maybe bring it down a few notches.
So, yeah.
That's why they did that, though, is so that you could see this like polar opposite.
His demeanor.
Character
Absolutely.
traits. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why it's there, but it's still hilarious.
Yeah, for sure.
He acts so mad about it.
I had no idea why he was freaking out either. Like, we came straight into this movie with that, and I was like, what? Why? I don't understand sports. So, like,
did you guys?
I do, but I don't even know what he's mad about. It's practice.
Yeah, you know, he's fucking Allen Iverson over there.
That's what I was going to say. It must be Allen Iverson. We don't fucking practice.
Coach, we in practice. We're not talking about a game. Not a game. Practice. Did you guys notice? So I don't know where this movie was shot, but like whatever building they chose, man, was run down hardcore. If you check out some of the shots in this movie, like some of the ceiling shots, there's like watermarks where there was
yeah.
leaking.
It was shot in Austin, Texas. By the way.
Yeah, so the building
Austin,
that got
San Marcos, Dallas, and Lockhart, Texas.
the whatever wherever they went, they might have, yeah, you can use this building for free.
Oh yeah.
It's a little rundown. It was rough building for sure.
Yeah, I think that's also part of the. I mean, that might be some art department stuff too. Like that's probably the look they wanted to go because they're underfunded
Right.
and they're
Could
a
have
small
been, could have
Ohio
been.
school.
I was just like, man, they really saved some money on these facilities.
Yeah. So basically the next big scare scene is the where we have Jordana Brewster's character Delilah and Casey have broken into this teacher's lounge because dude, this is also hilarious. She's like a fucking legit, like, you know, hardcore investigative reporter for the school paper. Like she's like, I got to get in here and get some dirt. When I was in school and wrote the school paper, I did stories on like one of our teachers' name was Skip. So I just wrote an article about what the fuck he did all day because I had no idea.
I do think the name of the segment was very clever on your behalf.
Oh yeah, skipping school is what I called it.
Yep.
Nice.
But you know, but she's like, yeah, we already exposed him as an alcoholic. Nobody cares about the one teacher. And it's like they're going through their purses and stuff to try to get the dirt, which is fucking hilarious. I love that. But in walks T1000, Robert Patrick himself, the coach, and the one teacher, and they're like having a conversation. So they hide in the closet, and that's when the school nurse, played by Selma Hayek, comes in, and she's like sick, not feeling well. So they attack her and put like the thing in her ear, little like worm guy in her ear. They see this. They also find the dead shower lady in the closet. She falls on them, and they escape. The way they escape's hilarious to me, by the way, too, because you expect them to open it and they're hiding, and they can't find him or something. Instead, he opens the door and he just hits him right in the gut with a fucking broom. Boom.
Yeah,
That's how I would do it.
And they take off, and then we're introduced to the principal. She's back, and we find out that the whole faculty has been basically taken over at this point. What do you guys think of this scene?
it's kind of I don't know. It's kind of suspenseful.
Yeah, it's good.
It's good.
It's
I really
fun.
like Selma Hayek's
Little
role in
cameo.
this. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. She's pretty good. That scene is pretty good. It's fun.
She's got the
it's
best line in the
suspenseful.
movie, by the way. Because
Who?
she's sick and she's coming to school, and they're like, "Why don't you take a sick day?" She's like, "I'm going to save those until I am well."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she, so that scene, that basically at that point. Also, two things happen here because she runs off. Delilah runs off and abandons poor Casey. Doesn't even like come back for him.
That fits her character.
And that's what I'm saying. So it's like, oh, so we know who she is. And we get to build stuff with Casey. So we're like, okay, Casey is now our eyes into this. He sees that something's going on. So then we get the hilarious scene of he decides to tell his parents about it. So they show up and, they basically show him that there's nothing there. And the police are there. The police show up and they assimilate with the police to add to the paranoia, right? So the scene that's funny is when they get back to the house.
It's just
and
hilarious.
His dad is like so mad for no reason. Like
He made stuff up. I took it as his dad is somebody in the town.
maybe, but
And maybe
I just
he's
I couldn't
embarrassed now.
rationalize why he was so angry because I'm like, if my son, I would be like, oh, he's having like a mental break. We need to get him help. But he's like, damn you! No privileges for you for having a mental breakdown.
Mhm.
I know, they even take his stash.
A porn, yeah.
Of
You
which
guys
I
find
love
the
how
scene
his
as funny
mom's
as I
like,
did?
don't forget the whatever she says, the porn, and
The
then he like lifts
porno.
up the bed.
Yeah, yeah.
That's so ridiculous.
It's so funny. And then
Well,
also,
they say, you know, you're gonna go see that lady, and he's like, I'm not gonna go see that lady. I'm not crazy. And then when they get home, he's like taking his radio, his phone.
you get everything.
Just,
No phone privileges, no internet, no stereo, no porn. And then he leaves the room, and for some reason, he just turns on this fucking remote control. Like, what was that? What was the weird little remote control guy? What was that supposed to be something? And it just never, it was written out of the script, but they kept that bit. What is that?
his dad turned it on, or he did.
He did. You know what I'm talking about, Lydia, right?
Maybe it's a
I-
calming.
Actually,
So he
Jake had a
leaves.
seizure like right when this happened, so I kind of missed that part. But
The dad leaves. Okay, leaves the room. He goes he goes over to his computer. He's like, oh, types a couple things on the computer, and his fucking remote control, like camera dog, starts to walk across the thing, and then he jumps out of the window. And I was like, what is that thing? Why is it
Yeah.
there?
I
does it
completely
do?
missed all that.
I must have like been doing something because I missed that part. The next scene I remember is him like jumping down and his dad coming out and catches him because he thinks the faculty is in his yard.
Yes, that does happen.
And his
But
dad's
right
holding the
before
porn.
that, he goes on the computer and goes, and his fucking remote control dog goes. I was like, oh, is this some kind of cool like device? Show how smart he is, or what? It just goes nowhere. It's just a thing that's there. And then he falls out of the window, and then his dad literally says, "Get back in the house," and he does. By the way, his dad's 100% still holding those nude mags.
Yeah, that's what I just said. I was like,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So funny.
We know where a shooter was going.
Oh yeah, he was going to be shooting, if you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
Anyway,
He is like, God damn it, guys.
so yeah, the craziness continues. So then, when he gets to school, he talks to Stokely, and he's like, "Hey, I think that the school is being overtaken." Well, before he talks to her, he runs into Delilah, and she's like wearing glasses and stuff, and she's like, "I'm incognito." It's like, what is this? She's all that? I guess that might be in the same world. Put on glasses, they're automatically ugly, and just you don't know. Which is hilarious.
I don't know, but
Rachel Lee Cook, you put glasses on her. Oh man, she's so ugly. It's like, what are you talking about? That woman's still a 10. She's gorgeous.
I will say every single time that I heard her name, all I wanted to be was like, hey there, Delilah, what's it like in New York City? Anyway.
So
so
they have a conversation.
Here's a question.
Yeah.
What about contacts? Do they, other than the fact they dry your eyes out?
Oh,
Like, I don't understand why she would need glass. Because a little later we find out she's been
So
taken.
there's a bone of contention about that, because I don't think when she meets him in the bathroom, I don't think she's been assimilated yet. No, I think she gets assimilated in the science room scene when the fingers come off and they're crawling around. I think she gets assimilated there.
So the glasses had nothing to do with it.
The glasses are, she's literally said she's incognito because that's what she was trying to do. Because if she was, she would have assimilated Casey right then there in the bathroom. She's by herself.
Right.
Nothing's stopping her from doing it.
Maybe she's trying to figure out who he told.
So I don't think so. I think that she's not assimilated. I think that she's not assimilated yet until that scene. Because that would make sense, because we see him crawl on her, and we also see Mary Beth come over to help her. Let's talk about that lab scene, since we're there anyway. What do you guys think of this scene? That's where all of our characters first get together for the first time. It's where they go through trying to they're telling each other what's going on. The other reason that I said the other reason I know she wasn't assimilated yet, because she goes to the jock. She goes to Stan and tells him, hey, this is going on. And if she was assimilated, she wouldn't have done that. She would have just assimilated him. So they're all in the science room, and because they go to see the
Specimen.
The specimen, and it's gone. Well, meanwhile, Zeke and Mary Beth are like making out in this other room, and they overhear it, so they go in and making fun of him essentially about the alien plot. And in walks Jon Stewart, and he starts throwing him around. What do you guys think of this scene?
He doesn't until because he was like, "What are you guys doing in here?" And then they tell him, "Well, he thinks that you guys are being invaded by aliens or something along those lines." And then one of them tries to leave, and he stops him, and that's when it like gets real. Although this does have my favorite scene in this entire movie.
Yeah, I know what you're gonna say. Yeah.
Yep. Where like the fight starts to happen, and Zeke grabs the paper cutter and like rips the blade off and uses it. That's pretty classic.
Yeah, that was a trailer moment. I remember that vividly from the trailer.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the trailer moments. And
that
I was
a
like,
great shot.
It was a great shot.
So yeah, he chops off his fingers and they turn into little aliens themselves, and that's when I think that she gets infected. And then he has these tentacles coming out of his fingers. And he stabs him in the eye with the drug. And Skiz or something. Skiz, is that what it's called? Skiz? That kind of sounds right. Something like that. Stabs him in the eye with it, with the pin that has the drug. And it starts to like infect his body. And then he falls over dead. What do you guys think of this whole bit? The eye bit looked great, right?
Yeah, I love it. It's fun. It's all just fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's really cool. What do you think, Derek?
I agree. It's one of my favorite like sequences in the movie.
Yeah, I think it's mine too. Yeah, it's a really good one. It's a really good one. I like this bit a lot. And then they immediately are like, yeah, so aliens are taking over the school. Let's get the fuck out of here. So they do.
I would do.
They get into Zeke's car and they drive to his house. And this is where we get our fun little lab / the thing. This is our thing scene.
Yeah.
This is the blood test scene from the thing.
Yeah.
Just not as good because that's a fucking all-timer.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. What do you guys think of this scene? We laughed about some of it, like his fucking chemistry set is pretty hilarious, right?
Yeah, it's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how expensive that would be?
Yeah, well, he's well-to-do. His parents are well-to-do, I guess.
Oh my god.
Well, I mean, he's an entrepreneur if you think about it.
That's true. That's true.
So this is probably a reinvestment of his profits into.
That's true. But the fact that he holds an actual fucking full-on autopsy of this rat after it's been assimilated is hilarious.
Yeah.
By the way, him breaking its neck, he like just grabs onto the thing, the cage.
Yeah.
And you hear like, and you're just like, okay.
But it doesn't make sense because unless it just hasn't fully assimilated, because they chop motherfuckers' heads off and they put them back on.
Yeah. Right.
So,
yeah, it doesn't add up.
You're muted, buddy.
One day I will have a perfect episode again. I did it once. I can do it again.
No, you're right, Lydia. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. You're right. And Jamie, you were right, because there's a later scene where one of them gets their head cut off and it like fucking crawls back over to the body and reattaches itself.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of like, and the teacher gets shot in the head. So it's like, I mean, it is what it is. But what do you think of this sequence altogether? Like when they each have to do the skiz?
I think this could have been done better. I think it's fun, but like there's something about it that I'm like, I mean, it's just not convincing that they're actually doing drugs, you know?
Yeah. Their performances after they're on the drug is something.
Like, it's a
To
performance
behold.
of someone who has never, like, been around anyone who's been on drugs, probably, maybe.
Well,
I
this
don't
is
know.
supposed to give them like a high, like a hyper high. It's kind
Right.
of what it says. So I guess that kind of makes sense. But it's just so like they're making each of them do it. You know, Mary Beth's saying she's allergic, and Delilah's just completely refusing to do it. But everybody else has done it, so it's between those two. So they each do it supposedly,
Mhm.
and Delilah turns, and we see like it's underneath her skin and stuff, and then she knocks over the rest of the supply and jumps out of the window. So I'm guessing when they do it up their nose, it doesn't kill them. It has to be in directly into their eye or something.
I was thinking that
Why
she
would
didn't
you
get
say
enough of it to kill her.
Dude,
Yeah,
Delilah?
Like,
'cause-
as soon as she
yeah.
had sniffed, it was like she didn't get all of it, which
I
I
just
feel like
assumed
would
she
be
didn't do it.
impossible to do. Don't you think that?
Yeah, that pin, that's a lot.
That's a lot of substance to be putting in
Yeah.
your nasal cavity. Like, I was like, how are they? That's not realistic.
I've only seen it
to think
on.
someone who's never snorted anything
Yeah.
just take a full
Maybe
pinful
because
of
it's
powder.
but a line is way different than a full pen full of fucking powder, right?
Well,
I mean,
also, you would almost have to like take the bottom off to sniff any of that out. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
yeah,
I
do you
don't
have like
know.
an airflow? Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, how are they wouldn't even be able to like barely sniff any of that.
So when I saw this scene, I just assumed that she didn't do any. That she just.
No, she did. She had to because she was going to turn if not. But like, or they were going to know that she's. I don't know. I don't know if she actually does it or what. But it like she doesn't kill her. That's
Because
Yeah.
we get an explanation to the other girl later.
yeah. She dumps
Right.
it out.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, when
I
she
think
blocked her
she-
nose and
Yeah, does the little nose thing. Yeah, blocks it. Yeah. But she ends up she ends up doing her thing and running through. But it's a pretty fun sequence all in all. It's not bad.
no, and Elijah Wood's like skittish behavior is just comical.
His creepy
Yeah.
giggling.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
I
it's
was
something.
like, come on. I love Elijah Wood, but I'm like, come on.
Oh yeah, I do too. So
But it's still fun. Yeah.
they decide that they know exactly where she's going to be, and they also determine that if they kill the head, basically the queen, whoever the main alien is, because they found out that it's part of a hive mind,
Yeah.
because when they do the autopsy, he figures that out somehow because that's what he fucking does, I guess. So they know that everybody's going to be at the football game, so they go to the football game. And they kidnap the principal. She comes in, they kidnap her because it makes sense for it to be her. And they have a confrontation with her, and they only have a little bit of skid left. They have in that container, and they have a few pins left. And they end up shooting the principal in the head because she refuses to sniff it. Then she comes out, and Mary Beth dumps all of that skid on her that they needed to defeat the queen, dumps it on her, and it like melts her away.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think of that bit?
It looked good. It was good.
It looked cool.
I
Yeah.
like that they captured her, and then that was kind of intense when they're like about to shoot her.
Yeah, because they're like, well, what if she's not? Is she,
What if it's not her?
Yeah, and then Zeke just shoots her in the head.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh man, we made a mistake. She's really the teacher. And then she comes up. We knew she was because we saw her die in the beginning.
Yeah.
So it kind of took some of that suspense away of that because we already know. But yeah, so she's dead. They poured on her, but they only have the pins left. And of course she did that to get rid of all of the
Yep.
Yeah.
all of the drugs.
That was
so
frustrating though.
Yeah, it is, because you're just like, you're a fucking idiot. And then when the reveal happens, you're like, ah, now
Yeah.
you're just evil.
Yeah.
So they end up splitting up. Basically, they're like, well, it has to be the coach because he's the one, he has to be the leader.
Mhm.
So they send Stan out to capture the coach, I guess, with one thing of Skiz. And he just goes out and sees them standing in the rain with their fucking face tentacles out. Ah, that's just so weird.
Well, they're getting hydrated.
Yeah. So then Stan comes back and he's like, let me in. The coach got me. The coach is trying to get me. And they're like, no, man, you gotta take the drug, our last one. We're totally just gonna hand it to you. You've got to use it. And he, of course, pours it out. How annoyed were you with that, Lydia? Yeah.
Oh man, they got to him.
Yeah.
I was sad for the girl.
Yeah, because she kisses him right before he goes out. Stokely does. Yeah.
I loved that scene.
Yeah.
She
so
kisses
good.
him, and then he goes, and she was like, I just didn't want to not be able to do that, or whatever she says.
Yeah.
And then
what's really
Elijah
cute about
Wood's
it, yeah,
face.
they're all
my gosh.
like he and Josh Hartnett are both like laughing about it, like it's cute.
Love it.
So you're muted, Derek.
Derek,
You're the worst tonight.
I am. So the Stan has one of my favorite scenes. He's talking to, and I think it might be what's her name? Spooky? No,
Stokely.
That sounds spooky. Anyway, he's talking to Stokely and about like he had just like did something great in football and he got a D on a test and then the teacher changed it to an A and he wanted it to just be his grade because it was his D, he earned it.
Yeah.
And just like the camaraderie and the bond that they're building.
Yeah.
It makes you feel for her. Because you don't know what's gonna happen.
No. And then so she's like, okay, Stan's gone, so she's devastated, but they still have to figure out how to do this. And Zeke's like, I think I have a couple more pins in my trunk. So he sends both he and Casey out to the parking lot, which is surrounded by aliens, and they use Casey as a diversion because he's fast. So he ends up confronting Delilah in the bus. What'd you guys think of that bit?
I thought it was good.
Mm-hmm.
Fun,
it kind of like made me realize that like the creatures can like tap into like the person, like who the person was. You know?
Yeah.
Like they're still there. Like they're still in there.
Yeah.
Well, and it's not like they made a replica of the person. They're just they're a parasite.
Yeah,
right.
They're parasitic on them, yeah. And so he escapes. That bit's fun. And then meanwhile, Zeke has a confrontation with Famke Janssen's teacher. What do you guys think of this wild shit?
Oh my gosh. Well, there's so much that goes on with those two.
First of all,
haven't really
she's totally wanting to bone him, right?
Oh, for sure. She's got some repressed sexual tension.
And
like, well, the first time we see her interact with him, she's like trying to like yell at him. But she's so,
meek.
Yeah. She's just like very quiet, shy person.
Yeah, then the next time when she gets inhabited, she's like total mean to him, calls him out on his bullshit. And then she's like, I like something cherry flavored, if you know what I mean. And just like all this like innuendo stuff. And then tries to like
cherry flavored condoms at the beginning.
Yep. So then she tries to kill him, and they have like a little car chase. Like she's trying to get him while he's in the car, and he crashes it.
Oh, she's in the back seat.
Yeah, she's in the back seat, like, and he puts on the seatbelt.
Yep.
And crashes into the bus, and it fucking engulfs in flames. She flies out, and then guys, the alien head is terrible.
No, but what else is terrible is that when the car crash happens, you can see that it's a full like mannequin
Oh, it's
body.
a dummy. Yeah.
It's not a dummy, it's a mannequin. Like it straight up does not bend or move at all.
Lydia, you just
I lost
ruined
it.
the illusion for me.
I lost it. Maybe that's why I didn't think the CG was so bad, because I was like,
Dude, the CG
they
on the
did not-
alien head is terrible. It's like a still picture of her, like
yeah. Yeah.
fucking killed me. I was like, oh, late 90s CG is rough if you don't have the budget. Because she's just like, and it's a cool bit, it's a cool moment. It's funny, especially when he goes, fuck this, or I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And he leaves.
He was over it.
And she's like putting her head back on and shit. We really don't see the coach after he just vanishes. The coach does.
Oh.
I thought for sure we'd have like a big confrontation with him. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Nope. He just vanishes. Because we find out that the queen all along has been Mary Beth. Did you guys see this coming when you first watched this?
No, not until pretty late, honestly. I probably should have guessed it like way earlier, but it seems like so obvious.
Yeah.
And you're like, so it's definitely not her, you know. But yeah, as it gets pretty late in the movie, I was like, oh yeah, it's her. And I've seen this before.
Yeah.
And I still forgot that it was her.
Did you remember it was her, Derek?
I did remember it was her. I think the thing that really stuck out to me was whenever they were in the basement and each of them were taking the scat, and like the way that she did it was just completely dramatic and strange. How she like threw her head back.
tilted her head. Yeah.
Like that's, I mean, if you're looking at this from, just kind of fresh eyes, I feel like that's the biggest tell right there to me. But
Well, I think the biggest tell is that she moved here from nowhere, and just is like,
Yeah.
she's just moved from town. So it's like she's the only one that has like doesn't have their origins there. So it's like, okay, but it's
I mean, yeah, if you're telegraphing it from the beginning, for
Yeah.
sure.
And so she slaps Stokely around, and Casey
Got
shows up in time to like save her. And what do you think of the bit where she turns into the monster? What do you like the monster design, like her queen design?
I do actually.
I think it's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's especially the animatronic.
I agree.
Yeah. And there's I think that bit where they're running through the swimming pool is great.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Drags her down. I think all that rules.
Even though she doesn't really get hurt under there.
It's kind of weird. I don't know how she would when she got
Well, I guess she got
assimilated.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I
I
didn't
don't
think
know.
about
I guess
that.
she got assimilated down there.
I thought it
'cause
was weird that she got out of the pool. I was like, how would she possibly have gotten out of the pool with this monstrous thing that swims, you know?
Yeah, so she gets out, and Josh Hartnett shows back up with more of the drug, and he makes Elijah Wood sniff it again, and there's a standoff between Stokely and her, Mary Beth, and Mary Beth's naked, by the way. She's just standing there naked, and he's like, Mary Beth, why are you naked? And that's when she's like, well, because I'm the monster. And then Stokely attacks, and Casey throws her into a gate and shuts her in. So she's trapped. She can't do anything. And they have this big, like, final confrontation with the queen. And she knocks out Zeke. So it's just Casey versus her. And I think this is a pretty good final battle.
Mm-hmm.
Because I really like the scenes of her walking, telling her backstory, and we see the tentacles, like the shadows of them on the wall.
Yeah, that was cool.
That's a pretty cool image. I don't know how logically that works, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense, but it looked good.
Yeah, it looked great. What do you guys think of the way he defeats her?
Those things are, so to set this up, they're going behind the bleachers and she gets essentially trapped.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, but those things move so freaking slow. But I do remember them from high school. Like this whole scene was just like, I remember the good old days. I wouldn't call them glory days because they weren't that
glory
glorious.
Days.
But yeah, I think it was a clever way to trap the creature while.
I think it's a good ending because I think that's cool. That's a cool way to trap the creature. I think it's cool that he has all 3 pins and he stabs her in the eye with them, because that's how he killed, the one. He's like, I just gotta, if I inject it right into the eye. So he stabs her in the eye. He says, like some one-liner. I think it's like, this shit will make you trip or something. I don't remember. Stabs her in the eye, and at the same time, she spits out the little parasites, and they start digging into his face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then she dies, and they just fall out of his face. But that's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
I
It
agree.
looked pretty good. I think whenever it was the animatronic, it looked great. Whenever it was the CG, didn't look great. But it wasn't the worst. The worst is the fucking head, the squid head. That's the worst.
Yeah.
So once they killed that, everybody else goes back to normal. That's, basically the parasites fall out, they die, and they are their normal selves. So we see the new status quo, because we see that Stokely, helps him up, and it's the 3 of them all are together, and they're like, oh, thank God, Then we go to 1 month later, and we see that everybody is, all the teachers that were alive are still alive, and the ones that are dead are just missing. They can't find them. And
man, the only thing that like really, the teacher who got her head cut off and then it reattaches, like how.
I'm
How
guessing
did that person not die? But
well, when it reattached, it reattached, but it looks like she has a scar because she's wearing a scarf around her head, around her neck. But
interesting. I didn't even.
Yeah, she's wearing a scarf around her neck. But the coach is back to being his old asshole self.
Just the way we like it.
So 3 people are missing, 3 of the faculty, which would be the ones that were actually killed, the principal and such. But they, the new status quo is that Zeke is now on the football team.
Mm-hmm.
And the teacher's there watching him, I guess, to give him a good grade later, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then she's like, you got your pencils. And then Stokely and Stan are together, and he's, she's no longer goth. And she shows up and gives him and they start making out. So they're together. Then we see that Casey was labeled a hero because Delilah comes, drops a bunch of magazines off, different, and then drops the school newspaper, school hero, and he's the hero of town. So they're together. He kisses her, they're together, and everything's fine. And that's how we end. Unless you count during the credits, because we also see that Jon Stewart's character also survived. He just now has an eye patch and one good hand.
Yeah.
I didn't catch
noticed that. I did.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, what?
Because he's like,
Yeah. Because they're going through all the characters at the end, and you just think like, oh, this is like a flashback of like the normal, typical flashbacks that you get. And then he just has an eye patch, and I was like, wait a minute, this is them now.
Yeah. He survived.
Love it.
And
that is the faculty. What do you guys think of this ending?
Wait, one thing about this ending. I love how Josh Hartnett's character is like, he's on the football team, right? And he's like, takes his helmet off, and then he smoking a cigarette.
Zeke's still Zeke, man. You can't take the Zeke out of it completely.
I guess not, but
he's just refocusing himself.
And the coach is like, put that bud out.
Yeah, he's like, I know that you're new here, but that doesn't give you the right. Because he's back to being an asshole. Assimilated coach was a much nicer guy. I will say that.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think of the ending?
Well, isn't it like problematic that the teacher is like clearly in love with
Oh,
Zeke?
Yes, but
Yeah.
he is of age. More than of age, because he's a second-year senior.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. Okay. So still problematic,
He's
but
probably
Yeah.
19, 20.
Power dynamic
Yeah.
is. I get what you're saying, Lydia.
and
Yes.
it's also like Delilah's still like toxic. Like she's
Yeah,
like
but
now she's with
feels
him
like
because he's the hero of the town,
Well,
which
now
is acceptable to her.
to leave, because also it's she's just that's the good guy gets the girl is basically the ending. I mean that's what happens.
Right? Yeah.
I think it's a pretty solid, fun ending. Everybody, none of our main characters die.
Yeah.
They all survive. Really, not a lot of people die. Period in this movie. I think who can we count that do the principal.
Um,
I think the principal, right?
well, the librarian lady, the old lady.
Oh, the old lady.
Oh yeah.
She died, and so from what I understand, I think I caught this, and I could be wrong. I think Mary Beth was a student who was transferred, and then the thing took over her body. I could totally be wrong. Otherwise,
No, that's not what it seems like.
She like melted when she like
Yeah, she
transformed.
completely disappears. Yeah, and she transforms into like the big creature. Like,
oh, I thought whenever she was giving her backstory at the end, that she mentioned something like that.
I don't know. I'm not sure on that. It's not very clear.
I could have been making that up. Although I do like her little backstory.
Yeah, how she's on her planet and
it's dried out.
So she came here. Yeah. So that's the faculty. What are you guys' thoughts? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, go ahead, Derek.
So man, this movie really took me back. And it has just like so many people that you saw from movies in that era. It's real nostalgic. It's high school, set in high school, and everybody has those like. I don't really want to say they were glory days, but I think fondly of it. I didn't have a bad experience in high school, other than the fact that my grandma pooped on me. But I've gotten over that through years of therapy.
Stop.
But yeah, I mean, this movie, I'm going to give it a fairly good thing, just because I got great vibes, man. It felt fun watching it. It took, it put me in a mindset that was happy. So I'm going to give this movie a 7. I feel like it was it's okay.
Lydia, what do you think?
I'm trying to decide where to rate this because we were earlier comparing it to Scream a little bit.
Well, it's nowhere on that level.
Really? Yeah, I mean, yeah, we all gave Scream a 10. It was a perfect 10.
Yeah.
And we would have given it higher if we could.
Yes.
And this movie really didn't come as close to that. And I was trying to decide why, and I think it's because of like originality, like where Scream was like a masterpiece, but it was also like completely original at that time. And this one is like one of the oldest stories. It's the Body Snatchers, basically, right?
Yeah, it's Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Yeah.
And that's been around for a long time. So for originality, but it is still kind of original because it's
they put their own spin on it.
Which is cool. I don't miss the 90s fashion either. I don't know about you guys, but the 90s fashion was
not good.
It was.
Josh Hartnett is wearing 3 shirts when we first meeting.
All of different lengths.
Yeah, he's wearing a shirt, a t-shirt, underneath a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Underneath a button-up shirt.
Yeah, and that was like the cool thing. That was the cool guy.
It was.
Where now it's like, that's the cool guy?
That's the cool guy?
Derek, you're muted.
My life. I said I only had 5 shirts, so like I couldn't wear 3 of them in one day.
Don't you still have only 5 shirts?
I only have 1 shirt now.
He has one shirt. Yeah, he has one shirt.
He
Just the
has a
white one.
ton of the same shirt. He's like Ernest. He opens up his closet and there's just a bunch of white tees.
Yeah. But so I don't know exactly like where to rate this one because I don't know. It is fun. It's
Go
not.
with your heart, Lydia.
Yeah, just whatever you feel.
What did you rate it, Derek?
A 7.
A 7.
A 7? Yeah, I was thinking around a 7 too. Do I want to say 7? Is it an 8? Can you guys talk me out of an 8?
Yeah, I don't think it's an 8.
You don't think it's an 8?
No.
It was so fun though.
It is a lot of fun. But I think 7 is good. That's like really good.
Yeah. Okay.
I think 8's the next tier up.
All right, we'll do 7.
Yeah, because I'm going to give it a 3. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm going to give it a 7 too. I have a lot of fun with this. I debated. I was almost going to give it a 6.5 before I rewatched it because I was like, it's okay. And I rewatched it. I was like, you know what? This movie's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I had more fun watching it this time than I did the last time because I paid more attention. And I was like, yeah, I really like the vibes of this one.
The pacing is good.
It's really, yeah, there's not a slow moment. It's fun. I agree. I'm going to give it a 7. I think it has really good performances pretty much throughout the whole thing. It's nostalgic. It's good. It's fun. It's a fun little twist on that story that we know. So, yeah. Yeah. And then that is our ratings for that. So, guys, it's time to aconize this movie.
Thrill me. Thrill me. Thrill me. Thrill me. Thrill me.
Detective, thrill me.
Who does Tom Atkins play?
Oh. Coach?
Let's give him the coach.
Coach.
Yeah, I mean, I love Robert Patrick, but that way we get Tom Atkins throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, either that or the history teacher who's like drinking.
He could be
during
the
class.
history teacher, but he only has a few scenes.
Yeah.
Robert Patrick's character has way more scenes.
Whatever. That gives him the perfect opportunity to tell some lady while he is drinking a beer. That's why God created coaches, babe.
Yeah.
That's why God
So he's
created
gotta be-
coaches.
He's got to be the coach. Yeah, I think I love that. All right. So is it my turn to pick? I think it's my pick.
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Yes.
No, The
you
Exorcist was last week, right?
No, Exorcist
Smile.
was 2 weeks ago. Smile was
Smile.
last week.
okay. Yeah.
Then me, thou, you.
Yep. So I was kind of thinking about this, and I couldn't decide at first, but that finally just popped into my head. I think we are going to do Wes Craven's Serpent in the Rainbow.
Oh. I have not seen that one.
Oh,
I don't think I've seen that one either.
really? Okay.
Serpent?
So next week it is Wes Craven's Serpent in the Rainbow. I don't know if it's streaming. Let me see.
Probably not.
Serpent in
I have it on. It is available on YouTube, Apple, Vudu. So it's not streaming free anywhere, but it's available on all of your streaming places. So next week, Wes Craven's Serpent in the Rainbow, starring Bill Pullman.
Cool.
Derek, do you have a story for us tonight?
All right, so I had this awesome dream last night. So it started off with Henry Cavill, Millie Bobby Brown, and I forget the other person, but they were having brunch, and they were themselves, so they weren't like characters in a movie except for in my head. And they were talking about like, oh no, and Henry Cavill was like, oh, I will pay for lunch. I got the check. And so they were talking about their careers anyway. And then it cuts to this like super amazing like garage sale where they like, this lady has a whole team of people because like last year they had a bunch of people, and so they need extra help, and so like then this whole mad rush of people are coming to like buy all their stuff, and they're like freaking out. And Dave Bautista's there, and he's looking at stuff to buy on the table, and then randomly somebody comes across an Etch-a-Sketch. And it turns out that whatever you draw on this Etch-a-Sketch, it comes true. And so, like, in my dream, this person draws a rectangle because that's the only thing I can draw on an Etch-a-Sketch are rectangles and squares. But anyway, they draw like a rectangle, and like the next scene is like this rectangle, and it like hits somebody in the face because whatever you draw on the Etch-a-Sketch, it comes true. And I think they like wrecked a car or something like that. I don't know. And then I woke up and I'm like, man, I better write that down so I remember the dream.
Yeah, that is, you are kind of limited with an Etch-a-Sketch.
It reminds me of like when SpongeBob draws like Doodle Bob.
Oh yeah, and he's like the doodle. Yeah, that's good stuff. We'll keep an eye out for HiLa Productions movie coming out where we have the sitting and Etch-a-Sketch.
Yeah,
that is a great idea for a movie.
Yeah, and it's just going to
have
be
like this child prodigy who is awesome at
no.
Etch-a-Sketches.
It's literally just going to be squares.
yeah, just squares, and
They're
it's gonna
literally
have all
just going to
the.
keep drawing.
It's gonna have all the A-list celebrities.
But what's great is they'll be like, man, I really wish I could switch this light out. I can't reach it. It's too high. And he just draws a ladder.
Square. Yeah, ladder. Perfect.
Yeah.
Little
Stairs. Just stairs.
Yeah. That's
all right,
so
guys.
funny.
That is our show for tonight. Be sure to comment down below on your Etch-a-Sketch skills and what you can draw. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Tell us what movies you want us to do next. And tell us what you thought of the faculty. That way we know if you guys agree with us or not. Be sure to follow us online. You can follow us at HiLaProductions.com. You can follow us on Facebook at HiLa Productions. Follow us on Instagram at Scream Bloody Movies. You can follow us each on Twitter. You can follow Derek at DDoglyMaster. You can follow Lydia at Lydia is Spooky, and you can follow me at Racket. And until next week when we do Wes Craven's Serpent in the Rainbow for Derek LeMaster and Lydia Judy, I'm Jamie Hiles. Remember, if you're going to scream bloody movies.